An opposition protest disrupts Parliament in Guyana. That's our top story in Caribbean Newsline for Thursday, November 2. From the CMC News Center in Bridgetown, I'm Nicole Best. Good evening. Guyana's main opposition, People's Progressive Party, staged a noisy protest in Parliament on Thursday as President David Granger addressed the Assembly for the first time since a two-month recess. They were protesting the President's decision to appoint retired Chief Justice James Patterson as head of the Guyana Elections Commission. President Granger continued with his address despite the chanting by the opposition, whose MPs held placards with messages calling for free and fair elections and about the economy being in a tailspin.
Have reduced post-harvest losses and led to lower commodity prices. Water harvesting is being promoted in the Rupununi region in order to ensure that adequate amounts of water are available during the long dry season. Farmers are benefiting from improvements in drainage through the installation of pumps in the main agricultural regions: Pomeroon, Supinam, Demaram, Mahaika.
There were also PPP supporters outside the Parliament chanting, "We want Jagdeo." After the meeting, Jagdeo went out to greet supporters and he told the media that his party plans to keep up its protest against President Granger.
Explain what our non-cooperation means. So we're going to be escalating this slowly, but we are very cognizant that we have a case in the court too. So we are going to draw attention to the legal, unconstitutional action of the president. We've already started doing so with the diplomatic community, and these activities would highlight to the country how strongly we feel about values of democracy, freedom, etc.
Prime Minister Moses Nagamootoo spoke with journalist Gordon Mosley after Parliament about the actions of the opposition, and he described Jagdeo's position as uneducated.
Protesters are doing what happens in every democracy. They have a right to dissent, and don't think it's a greetings for me.
But they're holding out that the move by the president to appoint the GCOM chairman was unconstitutional, and the opposition leader is still pushing that point.
I think that's what Jagde was pushing. I don't think that's what the people understand. They're following a leader who tells them these things, and if they fall for it, it's part of their response to their party leader. But the party leader is wrong. He has given a very uneducated opinion.
Why is he wrong?
His opinion is uneducated. There's nothing unconstitutional about what the president does. The president did what the Constitution says he ought to do.
And that was Guyana's Prime Minister Moses Nagamootoo speaking there with News Source Guyana's Gordon Mosley. Some British overseas territories affected by natural disasters could once again find themselves eligible for official development assistance despite having been graduated to middle-income countries. That was one of the major outcomes of a recent meeting of the Development Assistance Committee, DAC, an entity within the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. A release from the British High Commission says donor countries at the DAC meetings in Paris have agreed to work on a process that could allow previous aid recipients to receive short-term development assistance in the event of catastrophic humanitarian crises, such as the recent hurricanes in the Caribbean. It explained that the readmittance of those countries to the list would be based on whether or not their per capita income falls low enough as a result of a catastrophic natural disaster or other crisis. Last month, the Category 5 Hurricane Irma destroyed the British overseas territories of Anguilla, the British Virgin Islands and the Turks and Caicos Islands. But the UK was barred from sending money to its affected Caribbean territories because under current OECD rules, their national incomes were too high. Priti Patel, Secretary of State in the UK Parliament with responsibility for international development, led the fight for the adjustments to the international aid rule. She has described the decision as a significant step. Dominica's Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit has welcomed the relaxation of international aid rules. The announcement has come weeks after Caribbean leaders whose countries were affected by Hurricanes Irma and Maria in September made impassioned pleas to the international donor community to adjust the rules that govern their ability to receive concessionary grants. The Dominican leader, whose island was devastated by Hurricane Maria, says although he knows his country will not benefit from the adjustments to the rules, the decision is a step in the right direction.
Well, the decision coming out of the meeting in Paris, which spoke to some flexibilities in respect to the official development assistance, or ODA, to allow countries, certain countries within the Caribbean, to, because of their GDP, to now access ODA funding is really good news for many of our brothers and sisters in the Caribbean. It is a matter which we've been discussing and debating for quite a while now, and finally we have seen some meaningful progress. And I really want to thank publicly on behalf of the Caribbean region the government of the United States of America, the government of the United Kingdom, and in particular the minister responsible for DFID, Madame Patel, who has really led the charge in ensuring that this meaningful change would occur. And of course the other contributing members of the official development assistance program, because it's made up of a number of countries who contribute significant sums to this facility.
Skerrit hopes that this first step leads to facilitating access to the funding by the region. He says money is often available but not accessible.
We hope that this new dawn will continue with more progressive decisions to address more of the challenges which small island states like ours are having in accessing funding. Because there's one, to access the funding, or funding to be allocated to you. But the second challenge we have is accessing the funding in a rapid time, in a more efficient manner. So our hope is that with this first step, which we welcome and we applaud and we're grateful for, that we can now see the second step of addressing the efficiency of accessing and the drawdown of those resources, because that also is a very critical component affecting the implementation of strategies and programs to build more resilience within our economies.
Staying in Dominica, regional security forces will remain in that island until at least the end of the year as the island continues its post-hurricane recovery. Police Chief Daniel Carbon made the disclosure as he heaped praises on the regional security system, the RSS, for helping to maintain order since the Category 5 hurricane hit the island. They have assisted in clamping down on looting and other crime in the aftermath of the disaster. Carbon said local police would not have been able to bring the situation under control without the assistance of the regional forces, and he expressed those sentiments when he attended the meeting of RSS chiefs on Monday.
And I also made a case for the continued presence of the regional security system forces that are deployed here. And I must say that I got a tremendous commitment that the RSS will be with us right up to year end. And they have assured me that they will always stand with Dominica in our endeavors. And so I also say to them that the RSS forces from the various RSS islands have been giving a very good account of themselves. They've been executing their functions very professionally. Very little or no complaints.
Carbon said the RSS made other commitments to Dominica, but he told the media he could not disclose them until he had briefed the Justice Minister Rayburn Blackmore. The RSS forces will also be part of Dominica's Independence Parade on Friday. Carbon explained that with the local police unable to rehearse as frequently as they would under normal circumstances, given their intensified duties in the aftermath of Hurricane Maria, the parade would have to be scaled down.
But the parade, even if it is drawn down, is going to be solid. It is going to be solid because we have all the regional forces taking part on the parade. Jamaica Defense Force, Trinidad Defense Force, the RSS Regional Security System, and as of yesterday, the Defense Force from the Bahamas joined us. And so we will have each of the forces per platoon on the parade.
Coming up in Newsline, a curfew to be imposed on teens in Jamaica as lawmen use another strategy to clamp down on spiraling crime. That story and more after the break. Do stay with us.
Join us from November 16th to 19th, 2017 for the Barbados Food and Rum Festival, where acclaimed Barbadian chefs and mixologists are joined by Chef Jean-Georges of the US, Chef Tom Akins of the UK, Chef Chris De La Rosa of Canada, to create dining experiences to delight the senses. Visit GoingPlacesTravel.com to book your packages and visit www.foodandrum.com for more information.
A call has been made for more cricket to be played, beginning from the grassroots stages across the region. This call comes on the heels of the start of the Regional Professional Cricket League, featuring 6 territorial franchises.
Well, I've been playing this game for all my life. I played for Leeward Island for the greater 15 years, and I think I made my contribution in a very positive way. To me, I bring a lot of experience.
A curfew is to be imposed on children 17 years and under in Jamaica. It's part of a new strategy that police are implementing to address rising crime. The disclosure came from head of the Community Safety and Security Branch, Senior Superintendent Steve McGregor, as the murder tally for the year surpasses 1,300. Shamela Mitchell of TVJ News has the details.
According to SSP Steve McGregor, the country has been recording over 1,000 murders each year for the past 13 years. He says despite police operations and efforts to take the guns off the streets, the problem still remains, which is why they decided to come up with a strategy they think might work. The aim is to make 19 communities safe before the ending of the year.
One of the pillars that you will ride on to make your community safe is one that is very dear to my heart, and it is the police supervised curfew program for youngsters of 17 years and under. And it is about getting these kids off the street by 9 p.m. every night that God sends.
SSP McGregor says young people are being targeted because this group is not only responsible for most of the violent attacks, but 60% of the persons killed in these attacks are young people. He says young people are also the main targets for gangsters to recruit because they are vulnerable.
They can be put through the little windows and go carry around guns, ammunition all around. They are faster. They are more agile. Second one is that they are not on our records. They have no record before, so the police don't easily know who they were before. So they are not on our crime block. So we don't find them that easily. And the third one, that is the most gruesome one, is that they are more eager to prove.
With this new strategy, they will be recruiting community members to do the monitoring. He says a training session will take place soon for some persons in the community to become certified youth curfew monitors. He says if families don't conform, then the police will intervene at that time.
So you see, it is the third round that the police comes in. And when the police is now coming, he's coming under the umbrella of the Child Care and Protection Act. Yes. So the police now will find out if this is a fit and suitable place for young Kevin to be brought up.
Still in Jamaica, alarming statistics have been disclosed showing that more than 1,000 children were victims of sexual offences last year. The figure was disclosed on Wednesday by UNICEF Jamaica as it shared findings of a report on violence against children in the island. According to the data presented, there were 1,147 reported cases of sexual offences against children. A breakdown of that data showed that 56 girls between the ages of 1 and 10 were raped last year, and another 295 girls between 11 and 17 years were also violated. There were 337 cases of rape of 18-year-old girls. There were also several cases of incest. In the case of boys, buggery was also a problem. There were 14 victims between the ages of 1 and 10, 12 victims between the ages of 11 and 17, and 8 who were 18 years old. UNICEF representative to Jamaica, Mark Connolly, said the data was presented to bring about awareness and change, and not to, quote, name and shame or show scary numbers on how bad things are, end of quote. Minister of State in the Ministry of Education, Youth and Information, Floyd Green, said a national plan of action now in the draft stage will be rolled out soon to address the problem of violence against children. The Caribbean Court of Justice has given the Belize government until next week to pay up more than $62 million to two companies under a settlement agreement dating back to 2015. The Trinidad-based court said on Wednesday that the Dean Barrow administration would have to pay the money to Dunkeld International Investment Limited and the Belize Telemedia Employees Trust by November 10. A settlement agreement had been made between the parties and made an order of the CCJ in 2015. That agreement provided for calculating payment of compensation arising from nationalization of Belize Telemedia Limited and associated companies. But there had been some dispute over the Belize and US dollar figures. The CCJ says it's holding Belize to tough terms if the money is not paid up by the November 10 deadline. If the payment is not made in full by then, the government will have to fork out interest of 8.34% compounded quarterly on the remaining amount. Additionally, interest on unpaid interest will also be payable at the rate of 6% compounded monthly. Prime Minister Dean Barrow, speaking to media after the ruling, says he's not pleased with the outcome. He says that the CCJ's verdict leaves a lot to be desired.
I disagree with the judgment, and I believe that if the court had examined the claimed liabilities in the way I thought it had a duty to do, the result might have been different. But there could never have been any question of misleading. What the court said indeed was that the agreement was not particularly well drafted, and it blamed both sides. It said both sides have the fault, and I would concede that. But the position that I adumbrated which was that any portion of the arbitration award which could be attributed to the accommodation agreement should come back to the people of Belize, minus only the liabilities, the expenses incurred by these people in trying to get that award, which was fair.
And ahead in Newsline Sport, the second test between West Indies and Zimbabwe ends in a draw. Stay with us. Sport is next.
From November 16th to 19th, 2017 for the Barbados Food and Rum Festival, where acclaimed Barbadian chefs and mixologists are joined by Chef Jean-Georges of the US, Chef Tom Akins of the UK, Chef Chris De La Rosa of Canada to create dining experiences to delight the senses. Visit GoingPlacesTravel.com to book your packages and visit www.foodandrum.com for more information.
Grow your business or promote your event through the services offered by the Caribbean Media Corporation and CaribVision. Our distribution provides a platform on cable, terrestrial television, and websites. We cover carnivals and events from across the region. We can bring your event live and alive to the world. For music makers, program producers, businesses, we can expand your reach to in excess of 2 million households daily. Our other services include news updates to enhance your media products, studio space for program and development. We can facilitate the launch of new products and services and training. Contact us and we will help you unleash your creative ability, develop products and services, and provide the medium to watch them grow. Contact Loretta Skeet at cmccaribbean.com or call her 1-246-467-1044 or 1-246-253-3889. Call and book your carnival or event today. Wicketkeeper Regis Chakavba his gritty unbeaten knock curtailed West Indies' victory bid as Zimbabwe managed a draw in the final session of the last day of the second test on Bulawayo on Thursday. The right-handed Chakavba remained unbeaten on 71 and was accompanied by captain Graham Prema on 28. The pair had added 91 for the 8th wicket to end the match on a 301 for 7. Starting the day confident of victory at Queen's Sports Club, West Indies managed to take just 3 Zimbabwe wickets before the match was abandoned midway through the final session. The right-hander, who also scored a half-century in the first innings, added just 4 to his interval score before he was bowled by captain and seamer Jason Holder by one that nipped back off a length to claim off stump. His dismissal ended a 38-run stand for the 7th wicket with Chakavba. Fast bowler Shannon Gabriel and Kimar Roach, along with the leg spinner Devendra Bishu, took 2 wickets each. West Indies took the series 1-0 after winning the first test 9 days ago by 117 runs at the same venue. And although the West Indies didn't get the clean sweep they were looking for, head coach Stuart Law was pleased with his squad.
Look, credit to Zimbabwe. They played brilliantly today. They fought really hard, but I'm super proud of Jace, the way he's led this team, the way our boys have played, and particularly very happy for a number of our players, but in particular Devendra Bishu, who man of the series, coming from England after a tough series to come here and get man of the series is a great effort. I thought Shane Darrich has been outstanding. His glove work behind the stumps and that 100, his first ever, was a great knock to watch. So very proud of our boys.
Law also commended fast bowler Shannon Gabriel and Kimar Roach for their performances. The two, along with the leg spinner and man of the series Devendra Bishu, managed to take 2 wickets each.
Credit where credit's due. On very slow, low wickets, to have Shannon Gabriel and Kimar Roach doing what they did out there was outstanding. Great to watch. When the ball was flying through, it excites everybody at the ground. You could hear the crowd getting behind it as well. So look, they toiled manfully out there in these conditions. First Test match was very hot, very dry. They kept coming. They didn't give up. Every time they got the ball in the hand, they answered the call from the captain. So look, those guys have been great, and the captain himself in this Test match, 100 in the first innings, and he bowled beautifully as well. Once again in tough conditions. Look, I can't be more proud of our boys. The fast bowlers get a rough end of the stick on these types of pitches, but in the end it proved hard for the spinners as well. It was that slow. The batsmen had time to adjust every time it moved. So look, all in all, we played well. Very pleased where we are. Our fast bowlers are quality. I bet they're looking forward to going to New Zealand.
Still in cricket, Sheldon Cottrell followed up a half-century from Monsoon Hodge with a destructive spell of left-arm fast bowling, but Sri Lanka A defied them to clinch a 2-wicket victory over West Indies A in the first one-day match on Wednesday. Cottrell grabbed 4 for 44 from his allotted 10 overs to lead the Windies A bowling as the Sri Lankans successfully chased 177 for victory under the lights at Sabina Park to take a 1-0 lead in the 3-match series. Amila Apansu formalised the result for Sri Lanka A when he hit the only 6 of the visitors' innings with 12 balls remaining. Leeward Islands Hurricanes opener Hodge anchored the West Indies A, batting with 54 from 69 balls, and Rakeem Cornwall made 37 to get them to a respectable total of 176 in 48.4 overs following a batting collapse. Aponsu was the most successful Sri Lankan bowler with 3 for 34 from 10 overs. Fellow left-arm spinner Melinda Pushpakumara took 2 for 34 from 10 overs, and Chimaka Karuna Ratne bagged 2 for 36 from 12 overs. And that's the sport. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Come, sail with us through our ocean blues, where there's a blessed land that's waiting for you. Look, listen, feel, realize your dream escape that's magically surreal. The best kept secret, a place you'll never forget, where adventure beckons with every gentle footstep. From lush mountain green to warm volcanic sand, submerged in splendor, our 32 enchanting islands. A kaleidoscope of experiences. No need to look anymore. St. Vincent and the Grenadines, the Caribbean you're looking for.
This month, Caribbean Passport is on location in Pure Grenada as tourism experts and industry leaders meet to discuss the latest trends at the 2017 State of the Industry Conference.
Tourism is the quickest way to impact people's lives. You get a foreign visitor on the ground, dollars go into your pocket. So that is why it was so important to have this conference.
See it all on this channel.
Sail with us through our ocean blues, where there's a blessed land that's waiting for you. Look, listen, feel, realize your dream escape that's magically surreal. The best kept secret, a place you'll never forget, where adventure beckons with every gentle footstep. From lush mountain green to warm volcanic sand, submerged in splendor, our 32 enchanting islands. A kaleidoscope of experiences. No need to look anymore. St. Vincent and the Grenadines, the Caribbean you're looking for.
Again, the major developments of this day: a protest in Guyana's parliament disrupted the parliament today. And in sport, the second test between West Indies and Zimbabwe ends in a draw. That's Caribbean Newsline. For news and sport around the clock, log on to cornernews.com. We'll be back here again tomorrow. But from all of us at CMC News, thank you for watching. Do have yourselves a good night.